Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I'm the founder of Higher Power Coaching and Consulting. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole: Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. On this podcast, I share my experience, strength, and hope from recovery. I don't support or endorse any particular 12-step recovery fellowship, and I don't claim to speak for any of them either. My hope is that you will find my words helpful in some way, whether you're in recovery or not. This is episode 88, Expecting Fairness. Fairness is one of my most important values. I really want things to be fair for people. Yet at the same time, I understand that the world is not fair. This came up in conversation with a client the other day who was talking about fairness being a really important value to her, and how she works really hard to create an equitable world. And we were talking about it because she's really upset right now because of a situation she's in that is patently unfair. She didn't understand that having fairness as a value doesn't require her to be pissed off when things aren't fair. Recovery taught me that just because I don't agree with something doesn't mean I have to be pissed off about it. I did not understand that before recovery. What I often say to myself in such situations is, this is what's happening. I came to understand that a lot of the difficulty I had in my life came from not accepting things the way they were. I didn't necessarily have a conscious idea in my head about the way things should be, but I learned that when I'm really upset, when I'm really pissed off or resentful about something, it's an indicator that I likely have some kind of an expectation that things should be different. If you want to hear more about that, it's in one of my very first episodes of this podcast about acceptance. And in that episode, I talk about my journey of learning acceptance and why I started saying that phrase, "this is what's happening," to myself as a way to sort of insert myself into the reality of the situation, to face what was actually happening and stop resisting against it. Now, if I allowed the unfairness of the world to steal my serenity, I would never have peace. There is so much unfairness in the world. The way I explained this whole situation to my client is this. Because fairness is a strong value of mine, that means I work toward creating circumstances, situations, opportunities, and structures that are fair. I also support organizations that work toward fairness, or at least my definition of fairness. It doesn't mean that I spend my energy railing against people, organizations, or situations that are not fair. That is a potentially endless endeavor because there is so much about this world that is not fair. If I spent all my time being upset about that, I wouldn't have time for anything else. Acceptance means understanding that, yes, there are lots of things that are unfair. Our social structures were not set up to be fair. They were set up to privilege certain types of people. If we don't like that and we want things to be fair, our job is to do what we can to change those things, to create new systems that are fair. I can still hold on to fairness as being a very important value for me. It helps to guide me where I want to spend my time and energy. That is, I want to spend my time and energy with people, organizations, and causes that also hold fairness as a value. I want to spend my time and my money on organizations that work toward fairness. It doesn't mean that I'm pissed off all the time because the world isn't a fair place. On the contrary, instead of demanding fairness of the world, I try to create fairness. This notion reminds me of a few quotes I posted together on Instagram the other day, which, by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, please do. I'm at Higher Power Coaching. So here are the quotes I shared that are along these same kind of lines. Stop hoping to hear a good song and start singing one. Be the change you wish to see in the world. When the world is cold, build fires. And this last one is a little bit hard to convey verbally because it's the way that it's depicted visually that gives it meaning. The saying is, believe there is good. But the way the words are laid out, it also says in that same depiction, be the good. And I love this because you can believe there is good if you are being the good. You're both creating the belief and the evidence for the belief by being good. So the idea is whatever it is you want the world to be, instead of waiting for the world to be that thing, make it that way, or at least in your circles, in whatever way you can, in whatever sphere of influence you have. So, friend, if you're pissed off that the world is not fair, or that the world does not live up to some other value you hold very dearly, what are you going to do about it? I encourage you to think about what you can do to create more of that value in the world. Be well. That's it for today. Please share this episode with anyone who might find it helpful. If you like what you've heard here, you might be interested in private coaching with me. If that sounds like you, then head on over to barbchat.net, or you can get on my calendar for a free 20-minute consultation to help you make lasting changes in your life, like I've made deep, lasting changes in my life. My ideal client is someone who is ripe for change, but I'll coach anyone who wants to be happy, joyous, and free. So if that's you, then go to barbchat.net and get on my calendar. I'd love to chat with you. Please like and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast outlet. This helps other people find me. Thanks for listening.